Good afternoon YouTube, I'm Hills on the Hunt, and in today's video we have my weekly watches. So let's go. Alright, welcome back. So yeah, in this video we have my weekly watches. We've got 7 titles this week. Seems to be on par at the minute with kind of what I'm managing to get. I used to kind of get 8 or 9 in, but 7 seems to be the lucky number at the moment, but we'll try it. We'll always keep trying to get more movies in. I know Roy over at Blue Roy Movies seems to do the same, but I think he's on 9 every week at the moment. So there's time I can find kind of in the day to watch a few more movies. But yeah, we'll go with the 7 that I've got today. Again, another mixed bag of movies. Bit weird, wonderful, very weird. Yeah, so we'll cut into them and see how we go. So we started the week with Affair in Trinidad. From 1952, directed by Vincent Sherman, starring Rita Hayworth, Glenn Ford, and Alexander Scourby. So it's a drama kind of whodunit sort of movie. Rita Hayworth plays Chris, whose husband is killed in Trinidad. She doesn't know about it. She's a nightclub dancer, and then she finds out kind of what's happened, and yeah, she has no idea who's done it. This finger's been pointed, but no one seems to know. At the same time, her husband's brother, I think her husband was named Neil, but I could be wrong. But her husband's brother Steve is also flying in, again unaware what's happened to his brother. He finds out kind of when he arrives. And yeah, him and Chris kind of get along and try and figure out kind of what's happened to her husband and his brother. The third main character in this movie is Max, who is a very good friend of Chris's, but you can tell kind of watching the movie that he wants her. He's always wanted her. Does some really good scenes, like in the nightclub. She does some seductive dances and things like that. So I mean, Rita Hayworth is very good in this movie, as was Glenn Ford. It wasn't bad. It was decent enough for what it was, but I just felt it worked too much on the triangle as opposed to the murder itself. And then there were scenes where she was working for the police to kind of, once these two guys started pointing fingers at each other, it just felt like, you know, you could see where it was going, and it kind of lost its charm a little bit. It started off really well, but I feel it kind of lost its charm along the way. So I was reading reviews when I was logging this on Letterboxd, and people were referring to a movie called Gilda, with the same 2 main leads. So I'll check it out because they're saying it's a lot better. And they're saying this is a rip-off of a movie called Nightmare, I think it was called. So I will look into that as well. But yeah, I mean, for what it was middle of the road. It was enjoyable. I just felt it kind of lost its charm along a little bit of the way, where it took away from the actual story in terms of what was happening, and focused too much on like the triple love affair and what was going on. And I think it tried to add a little bit too much in with Max's character, trying to put him in kind of middle of everything. So yeah, I just felt it lost its charm. It's not the worst movie. It's not the best movie I'm going to watch kind of from this era, but it wasn't a bad little watch. But yeah, Affair in Trinidad. Let me know what you think. Alright, so next up was Deadbeat by Dawn. Deadbeat at Dawn even. Get the name right, that'd be a good start. Directed by Jim Van Bebber, from 1988, starring Jim Van Bebber as Goose, Paul Harper, Megan Murphy, and Mark Pittman. So the movie revolves around Goose. So he's a leader of a gang called the Ravens, and they're in like turf wars against a gang called the Spiders back in the American Midwest. But Goose is in love with his girl, Megan. Megan Murphy, who plays Christy. And he wants to kind of get out of the gang game, because he wants to be the perfect boyfriend for her, the perfect partner for her, and he sees a future together with her. Christy is also psychic, so she kind of sees what's going on in terms of like his future, her future. And the moment Goose kind of leaves the gangs and starts a life with Christy, the two rival gangs almost unite together. And they almost kind of take it upon themselves to try and take Goose out because they see him as a traitor for leaving the gang game for a girl, essentially. The leader of the Spiders ends up sending people to kill Christy, to try and almost manipulate Goose back into the game in terms of being back in the gangs. Goose doesn't want to, but he understands that revenge is needed. He runs away from where he was staying, where his partner was killed, and goes and lives with this like psychotic, drug-riddled father, who all he wants is just drugs and alcohol, and just almost manipulates Goose to kind of help him out with whatever he needs. Eventually, kind of Goose gets back into it, not through choice, but more through trying to do what's right by his former partner. And then what follows is just brutal. It is seriously like the end kind of half hour, the final fallout is just superbly gory, violent, dirty, disgusting. It's just limbs, blood flying all over the place. Brilliant fun. It's one of those movies that it's really enjoyable in terms of what's going on. It's very, very 80s style setup. The clothing, the setting, the very, very kind of the flats, the houses, everything is just very, very 80s style, kind of rise towers with your fire escape lifts and everything going up and about. And it's just, it's one of those movies where it probably shouldn't be upgraded to another format. It sounds like a weird thing to say because when you upgrade a lot of these movies, they get cleaned up. Picture quality is a lot better, and I feel for a movie like this, it should be kept gritty, dirty, and disgusting in terms of how it is, and it's what makes it. It gives it its charm, and it gives it its whole belief in terms of why a movie like this is like this. It's not meant to be a happy love story. It's not meant to be a happy ending for gang wars and whatnot. It is supposed to be dark, and it's supposed to be kind of realistic life in terms of gang violence and things like that, and revenge and along those lines, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had a really good time with this one. This was very, very good. It's been sat on my shelf for a long while. And I've just been kind of pottering around it, wanting to watch it, just to find the kind of right time to enjoy it. And yeah, if you can get hold of this, I would recommend it. Deadbeat at Dawn. Really enjoyed it. Just in for nothing else, just to see kind of how how Goose disposes of his partner's body. That in itself is just low. It's just low level care, low level violence, but it is kind of what life was like for gangs like this, because you couldn't go to the police, you couldn't do anything like that, because essentially they'll say, well, you're in a gang, so tough, so that sort of mindset. So to do what he had to do, yeah, I really enjoyed this, very much enjoyed this. Deadbeat at Dawn. We snuck a slasher in there after. 1984, director Buddy Cooper, starring Matt Miller. What's that name? Ruth Martinez, Francis Rains, Bill Hitchcock, and Pamela Wedden Cooper. And it is 1984's The Mutilator. Again, one I haven't seen, I've heard of, and I know there's a second one either due out or coming out, or possibly has come out. I remember seeing an interview with the director Buddy Cooper, and he was talking about kind of the nostalgia of this one, and how this one differs from your normal slashers. So where you have your Jasons and Michael Myers and all this masked killers and things like that, where this one you see the killer, you know who's doing it straight off the bat. There isn't like, oh, they're like unmasked or whatnot. It is exactly, it's just a person like me and you just doing it. So the story revolves around Ed Jr. When he's a young boy, and accidentally, while he's wrapping or looking after his father's gift, which is a gun, it goes off and ends up killing his mother, who's in the kitchen cooking dinner. Dad goes over the edge and just leaves and disappears. The movie moves forward to when Ed's older and at college, and he gets a phone call from his father saying he wants him to go up to his cabin to lock it down for the end of season. So him and his friends take an opportunity to go up there, spend some time out there, unbeknown kind of what's waiting for him when he gets there. It was okay. It really was okay. It's not one that I'm going to go back to often. If I want some background noise, then probably I'll pop it on. It's enjoyable. I mean, some of the kills were fun because it's a fishing town. It's by the beach. You got all your fishing style weapons, so harpoons and like fishing rods and yeah, loads of sharp bits that you find in kind of cabins in that area. So it wasn't bad, but it just didn't give me the vibes of a slasher. It wasn't overly dark in terms of it. There was a few kind of creepy moments, but lo and beyond, it was okay. It's very, very low level slasher movie. Like hardly any. If I remember, especially for a movie from the 80s, there was hardly any nudity. I don't remember seeing any. Language is okay. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't your traditional slasher from the 80s where it's just boobs in your face, blood in your face, everything in your face. It just didn't give that kind of vibe. It was almost a very nice slasher, which is a weird way to describe anything ever. But yeah, let's see if the second one comes out or if it's not out, and I'll see if I can grab hold of it and see how it's improved kind of 30, 40 years later. But yeah, if you want something to kind of start into the slasher genre to get into, you don't want to kind of dive straight into your Jasons and your Michael Myers and your Freddy Kruegers and stuff like that, and you want something kind of meat, then yeah, it's not a bad starting point. The Mutilator. I believe there is a uncut version of this where there's more blood and things like that. So I'd be curious to see kind of how that is. Also, I'm not going to tell you who the killer is because why ruin that? It's entirely down to you to figure out who's doing it. But yeah, The Mutilator. We then went a completely different way. It was like not even a 180, it was a full 270, and we just went completely left road. It's on the Criterion Collection. It's called Certain Women. This is definitely a drama. It's got a good cast. From 2016, directed by Kelly Reichardt, starring Laura Dern, Michelle Williams, Kristen Stewart, and Lily Gladstone. It's three intertwining stories set in the Midwest of the US. So the first one revolves around Laura Dern, who's a lawyer, who's dealing with a client who's unhinged, is probably the best word to describe him. She's trying to fight a case that she's struggling to win, and he's not kind of taking no for an answer. And she's trying her hardest to do it, but he ends up going over the edge. He kind of holds his workplace hostage, and he holds a security guard hostage, and she's got to go in and try and calm him down and settle him down and make him feel better. And that's what that first story kind of just revolves around. The whole three stories are not very long in themselves, but it's just the way that each of them, they're very, very singular in their characters in terms of how the stories revolve. So that's your first one. Second one is Michelle Williams, who's a wife and a mother, trying to renovate their house. Renovate as in build their own, like their dream home. And she's facing trouble from her husband, she's facing trouble from her daughter, trouble coming from everywhere, and she's just struggling to kind of hold it all together and um, keep everything going in her marriage as well. It's everything they're trying to do with the house is then opening other kind of holes in their marriages, and um, her daughter's not her biggest fan, and her husband keeps kind of putting his foot in the wrong place, which ends up with her being even lower seen in her daughter's eyes, and it kind of takes along like that. And then your third story is a night school teacher, Kristen Stewart, um, who meets Lily Gladstone, who ends up being a student in her class. Um, Although she doesn't want to learn law, she's just there because she saw a group of people walking into a building, and she's just sat in there, and they start a bond where they kind of get along really well and work along with each other. And um, this all rolls around one night in terms of their first class. Um, she then doesn't come back to teach, and Lily Gladstone then goes on a road journey to uh, go and find Kristen Stewart's character. And yeah, it's not very fast paced and not very overly linked. It's not a bad watch if you love your dramas and stuff like that. It's probably more for you. I've got it because it's on the Criterion Collection, and I picked it up in a bundle, so it's there. And I was always going to end up watching everything because that's just the way it is. You kind of have to just get into everything. But yeah, and then towards the end, the three stories intertwine where Lily Gladstone drives into a law office because obviously Kristen Stewart is teaching law, so she must be practicing law somewhere or something along those lines. And Laura Dern's character is is that same office, so they don't interact, but you see the characters kind of blend in somewhere with each other. It wasn't a bad little movie. It's okay for what it was. 107 minutes, so it did go on a little bit, but it was okay. It's not generally my thing, so but yeah, somebody might get something out of this. I put it middle of the road. I didn't think it was bad. Like, each of the stories kind of representing themselves. It moved nice. Again, you get to see some really, really beautiful sights because it's in the Midwest, so loads of mountains and stuff like that, loads of small towns and stuff like that. I love seeing things like that. So yeah, it was okay. It's not the greatest, it's not the worst, but it's there. Next up was my highlight of the week. Jesus, what a movie this was. Santa Sangre from 1989 from director Alejandro Jodorowsky, starring Axel Jodorowsky as Phoenix, Bianca Guerrera as Concha, Guy Stockwell as Orgo, Thelma Tixu as a tattooed woman, and Sabrina Denisor as Alma. Jesus, what a movie. Absolutely bonkers this was. The film is set with the backdrop of a circus, and stars Phoenix, who is seen as a young boy and an adult. The movie starts with him as an adult in a mental institution, just trying to figure out kind of how he's got to where he is and what's led him there. It then blends backwards to when he's a kid and he's in the circus run by his father, Orgo, and his mother, Concha. He's the ringleader. The father is the ringleader, and she's a artist, a trapeze artist. And she also does work on I don't know how to describe it, but it's on the spinning wheel where you pin someone to the spinning wheel and you throw the knives at them. If that makes sense. If any of you have been to a circus, you kind of refer to what I'm talking about. And it's life at the circus, and he's also getting involved, and yeah, it's a really good line. The tattooed woman. Oh, the tattooed woman. If you watch this movie, you'll watch it for the tattooed woman alone. You'll get mesmerized. I promise you. She's gorgeous. But yeah, so the movie revolves around that until you get to a scene where the mother, Concha, is up on the stage at the top and peering down, and she sees her husband and the tattooed woman going at it, kind of in the back, away from everybody else. And yeah, so she goes crazy. they haven't seen her. They haven't seen that she knows. She locks the Phoenix into their trailer, but Phoenix can see kind of directly into the circus what's going on. She then goes into the back where these two are kind of getting at it, takes some acid, and pours it all over the husband's penis. Burnt it off. Literally that. He then loses it. He then just gets really angry, ties her to the wheel again, and then chops both her arms off. So she's just blood, gore, everything. In the space of 5 minutes, you're just sitting there going, what the hell just happened? And that kind of is your premise to what's going to happen in the rest of the movie. Like I said, it's wild. The scene cuts from there and it goes back to him as an older boy. Scenes in the mental asylum. They take a trip out to the streets and whatnot to go watch a movie, and they get led away by a pimp. Essentially, they get led away. So these challenged kids get led away by a pimp into cities where there's loads of prostitutes and everything along those lines. There, Phoenix sees the tattooed woman there. I mean, she's not easy to miss. The entire body is tattooed. He sees her there, and his mind starts coming back to, those olden days, and he starts to snap out of whatever he's in. Goes back, and the next morning he's more awake, more alert, more talkative, and then he looks out of his window. So he's got a window like right at the top. He climbs up because he's a circus artist. He's got a tree that in his room, and he climbs up and he's in the window. And he looks out of his window, and there he sees his mother, no arms, still no arms, kind of, and calling him out. He follows, and then the film takes a completely disturbing turn from that point, because his mother now manipulates Phoenix to do her bidding for her, to take out people who have wronged her. So first half of the movie is one bit of gore with the acid and the arm being cut off. Second half is just nuts. It goes just a completely different direction, but it's brilliant. It's so beautiful. It's aesthetically coloured fantastically. Reminded me of Suspiria. And then when you realise that Dario Argento's brother, Claudio Argento, is part of this movie, you get an idea of where the colour schemes and everything comes from. It's a movie you need to watch. I've also got El Topo, which is from the same director, so I do need to watch that. But this is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I think for most of the movie, I was just sat there in silence. And I was watching it with a group of people as well. I just sat there in silence, just taking everything in. It was just stunning visually. Psychedelically, it was just a wild ride. If you have not seen this movie, I highly recommend it. It was easily, for me, 5 out of 5. Just absolutely ridiculous movie. I'm just shocked that it took me so long to watch it. But yeah, if you have not seen Santa Sangre, you do need to watch it. Movie of the week for me. Right, movie 6. We didn't let off with the weirdness, but we took a trip to Norway for Troll Hunter. It's really cool, lenticular cover. Ooh. Just play with that all day. Norwegian movie from director Andre Overdal, 2010, starring Otto Jespersen as Hans, Glenn Erland Tosterad as Thomas, Johanna Modric as Johanna, and Thomas Alf Larsen as Kalle. This was good. This was so good. I was recommended this by my friend Joanne. She went, when I bought a bundle, she saw this in it, she went, you have to watch it. Whew, this was good. Set in Norway amongst the mountains. A group of teens, Thomas, Johanna and Kalle, are investigating a bunch of bear killings, as in like the bears are being killed, and trying to figure out what's doing it and how it's happening. That leads them to Hans. They're staying in a caravan park, and Hans has this reputation of leaving late at night and then not arriving back till the morning. I mean, he could be working somewhere, but the gear he takes with him doesn't lead people to believe that he's doing this. So one night, the students decide to follow him, and he goes very, very off the road, off the grid, off everything. And when he spots them and sees that they're recording, he doesn't want to talk to them. But they hear the word troll when he's talking. Um, so they try and almost spend more time talking to him, trying to get to understand what he's doing. And then over time, he kind of lets up. Over the next couple of days, he lets up and he lets them join him. But he has rules and things that he follows. I mean, he's professional at what he does. Um, and yeah, he hunts trolls. Um, they go along with him only on the premise that they do exactly what he says for their safety. And lo and behold, they go in and they see a troll. And the troll is like 15, 20 feet high. It's CGI. Obviously, it's CGI. But that didn't deter me from this. It really didn't deter me from the movie. If anything, it made you feel better. Think the only thing for me was, and it was the same thing I had when you watched Jurassic Park for the first time. Although you go through the park and you have the different dinosaurs, it's kind of like once you see the T-Rex, which is essentially what you're waiting for, what do you do next? But you've got velociraptors and you've got Diplodocus and all other different types of dinosaurs. You've got them in there, Stegosauruses and things like that you can kind of blend into different characters. While the T-Rex is your main character, you've got other smaller ones in there, and it's the same with this. You see your main troll. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the names because I just about got the first names and the character names right. So I'm not going to butcher troll names. But once you see your main troll, you've got smaller trolls. And the really good thing I enjoyed about this is they really went into the movie. So if you've got history, you've got folk, you've got you've got stories of the trolls and how they're different from each other. You've got drawings, and you've got really. It's a proper mockumentary, but they made it really well. Mockumentary / found footage, but they did a really, really good job with it. And the stories of the trolls and things that you do to hunt them and things that you do to kill them, and yeah, there's a really funny scene. So they're on a bridge, and Hans is dressed up in like a knight's outfit, proper tin can and everything, trying to use Christian blood to lure the troll out so he can kill it. He does that. The troll comes up. But what happens is, again, it's very, very CGI. So go into that with that mindset that there is going to be a lot of CGI in this movie. But the way he picks up Hans in his mountain outfit and just beats him across this bridge was just hilarious to watch. And it just leaves him there, and Hans is just like dead on the ground. But yeah, it was. I had such a good time with this. Really, really good. Something very, very much out of left field. And then, like I said, you've got the visuals of like the icy mountains and everything as a backdrop. So it really gives you that secondary view. You go in for the views and then you stay there for the movie. And you can watch it both ways. You can go in for the movie and just stay for the views. It is exactly how you want it to be, but it's such a fun ride. It's one you don't have to take seriously. And at a runtime of 99 minutes, an hour and 40. So it doesn't go on too long and it builds up nicely. You see the troll quite early, and like you said, you're worried after that kind of what they're going to do, but they lead it up really well. Lots of explanations from Han, who's supposed to be the experienced troll hunter. Lots of obviously government infiltration, because why would there not be? Yeah, loads of different things. Made it really enjoyable. This was a good time. Troll Hunter. And we ended the movie week with a British movie from Pete Walker from 1974, and it was Frightmare. So I only finished watching this one this morning. I started it last night. And I fell asleep. I just ended up watching it this morning, finishing it this morning. Boy, what a movie. It's a family movie with the most messed up family you can think of. So you've got husband Edmund and Dorothy, played by Rupert Davis and Sheila Keith, who are prisoned for acts of... So Sheila is prisoned for acts of cannibalism, brutality and killings, and Edmund is jailed for basically concealing her crimes. 18 years later, they're released from prison, and yeah, it's from a mental hospital where they've been staying, and they're let out on the basis that they are sane and recovered. They are not. They also have two daughters, Jackie and Debbie, played by Deborah Fairfax and Kim Butcher. Jackie was old enough when this all happened, but Debbie was just a young child, so possibly not aware, and she was led down the path that her parents were killed when she was young to try and shield her from everything. But Jackie knows everything. Jackie was 8 or 9 when all this happened, so she was right in the palm of what was going on. Jackie and Debbie don't get on. They do not like each other. Jackie does everything to kind of look after Debbie, but Debbie's one who's just completely off edge and she's unhinged. Although Jackie claims to not see her parents, she does go to see her dad, who she basically, what she does is she buys meat from the butchers, brain meat and heart meat, and takes it to her mum to make her believe that she's carried on these cannibalistic killings when her parents have stopped doing it. What she doesn't know is her mum's still doing it, and her dad is still defending her, until one day he snaps and shows Jackie a body. Jackie then leads her to her mother, and her mother is just, yeah, she's still doing all this. She's using drills and all kinds of weapons to kill people, portrayed as a tarot card reader. And yeah, so what they then don't believe is Debbie doesn't know any of it, whereas Debbie knows a lot of what's going on, more than people know. So where you've got Jackie and her dad, you've got Debbie and her mum, and you kind of see where this is leading towards. It's brutal, it's gory as hell, it's very unhinged. Like Sheila Keith as Dorothy is just super unhinged. She's just wild. She's very, very just demonic almost. It's a very dark movie. It's a very, very disturbing movie. I don't know if I can get away with showing you the back to get an idea of that middle picture. Yeah, lots of blood, lots of violence, and yeah, very, very creepy and unsettling. Some very unsettling scenes. But yeah, this was a very good watch. And something I want to get back into is, you know, I've started watching a lot more different style movies, but again, horror's where it's at for me, and this is where I'm happiest. It's a weird way to describe anything, but I do want to get into more Pete Walker work, because I believe he's got a box set out of British horror movies. I do want to get further into that, but yeah, this really good. Right there. That's everything for the week. Like I said, a real mixed bag. We started with black and white drama, and we end with gore and blood. Kind of how a week should go, really. But yeah, let me know what you thought of these. Let me know if you've seen any of them, any comments you have. I'll be happy to chat anything in movies and in the comments. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.